hillbilly. Yeah, baby, it's a land of barbed wire and moonshine whiskey.
Hi, welcome to Paul's Guitar Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about capacitors in your guitar. What the numbers are in the capacitors, different size capacitors, what exactly they do. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to experiment with a guitar with different type capacitors in the tone knob to show you the difference in sound, hopefully. Okay? Before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification button now because I give away custom guitars sometimes, so you won't miss out. Hit the notification and the allow button. Anything I use supplies wise will be in the bottom of the description, and if you feel like leaving comments, that's fine too. Later in the video I'll explain about the guitar giveaways too. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first of all, this is a tone capacitor, or capacitor in general. Now what a capacitor does on a guitar when it's soldered to the tone knob is it filters out the high frequency when turned down. Turned all the way up, there's nothing whatsoever being filtered out. That's more or less what it's doing, is filtering out the high frequency to ground. And that's how you get that deeper tone and that mid-range and that bottom end. So when you turn the knob, you're drowning out more or less the high frequencies of your pickups and get more your mid-range and your warmer, deeper tones out of it. And that's the purpose of a capacitor, or caps. Now caps or capacitors, they come in different sizes, which is called values, also in different sizes. The higher value you go with your capacitor, the larger they get. They're made of all kinds of different materials. It really doesn't matter, in my opinion, what type of capacitor you have. If it's papered, oil papered, or ceramic or whatnot, it really doesn't matter. As long as your value is the correct value for what you intend to use it for on your tone knob, then it really doesn't matter. Now the more expensive capacitors, they're usually more accurate in percentage of what it says on it than the cheaper ones, you know. Like if it says 022, it'd be 021 or 023. And with the cheaper ones, they tend, if you don't measure them, they tend to be off by a certain percentage. And that's the difference, the quality check to make sure they have what's written on them. And of course, the longevity of it. Now, I have a couple here in different values that we're going to test inside of a guitar. Okay, let's take a look at the 223J. Now, I don't know if you can see this, and they're pretty small. I wrote it down here. This is exactly what is written or printed on this capacitor here. This is an example exactly what's on this capacitor here, because it's so small you might not be able to see it through the camera, so I wrote it down. Now what the top number stands for, the CBB22, is beyond me. Some people might know exactly what it is, but this is what I'm looking for, and it says 223J. Now the 22 is the value of the capacitor. The 3 is where the decibel is, or should be. The letters behind the number J, K, H, whatever you have behind there, as long as it's, I would say, below K in the alphabetical order, as long as it's below K, I would consider that fairly good and okay to use. That would be the percentage of the difference in percentage of value what this type capacitor has. So let's say the K would be 10% or something, and anything above K would go up more to 15%, and then N or something like that would be 20% in the variation in what it really has. And J and anything below K, more or less, would be something that I would use. I would not use nothing above K, because it would be probably not consistent for what it says it has in values. It would be off too much. And of course, if you want a 0.022 microfarad capacitor and it has 0.15 or 0.15, then it would be totally off, from exactly what you're putting in. If you want your value to be more accurate on a capacitor, that's what the companies who make these, they put these letters in there to tell you how much variation it has in percentage by the letters. So anything under K would be fine in my opinion. Anything above K, I wouldn't even use it. Unless, of course, you can test them, which I'll show you in a minute how you can test them. And I do that anyways, to test them to see, because I've done 4 or 5 of these right here, and they have different values. The 400 is the volts that it can withstand, so it can withstand up to 400 volts before it burns up. Now, in guitar pickups, we're talking so low amount of voltage, I mean like millivolts, that the higher you go with volts has no meaning whatsoever. I mean, you can have 20 volts and it's plenty. So 400 would probably be the biggest one I'd use. The higher you go in volts, the larger these get. Then you'll have a monster like that inside your guitar. Still be a 0.022 value, but it'd be like way too big if it was 1,000 volts or 800 volts. So 400 volts would be the max I would use in size, and that's this size right here, which is okay to live with. I hope you understand. Let me show you real quick 0.22 microfarad capacitor really has. Here's one that says 0.22J, and we're gonna just stick a multimeter on there that measures capacitance, and if you see it here, it says 2138. Now I'm going to take the exact same value capacitor and I'm going to measure it and see what we have. And this one says 2185, so that's only like 1.5% off from my initial value, which I need of 0.22. Now this 21.85, I would definitely use this, because I'm not worried about 1%. I would even go as low as 10%, and I would try it and see how it sounds. Now I'm going to take a 0.33 microfarad and I'm going to measure it. Now this should have 33.00 if it was in the perfect situation, but it has 31.15, which makes it way off. And I wouldn't go no. I personally don't go no lower than 10%. And from what it says on the capacitor, it's just me, but you can do anything you want. The best way to do it, anyways, is to test it in each guitar that you're using, because that's where the sound difference, you'll be able to tell what you like the most in that case. And that's what I'm going to show you later, is how we, by the way, I'll also post where you can get this. Not every multimeter has this section right here, and that's what you do your capacitance with, and check your capacitors. Not every multimeter has it. This was fairly inexpensive, and it does just about everything I need. So I'll put that down in the description box too. Okay, we're not going to need that right now anymore, but I hope that explains how a capacitor works and the difference in the value and the number. So to sum it up, you got a number on there, whichever number it have. They're all a little bit different. That's a CBB22. This number here tells you exactly what it is. It'd be a 22.3. 3 is where the third spot of the decimal. So you would go O22 because of the decimal mark. And the J is for the percentage of variation from each capacitor in that bundle or in that production line. Exactly how much percentage it is by every letter in the alphabet, I have no clue, but I wouldn't go no lower than K. I mean, excuse me, but I wouldn't go no higher than K if the number behind it's K. And the volts of it is really has no meaning whatsoever in a guitar situation. It would never go up to 400 volts. The higher you go in volts, the larger the capacitor gets. And who wants a big bulky capacitor inside their guitar? But it has nothing to do with the function of that. It just means that's how much voltage the capacitor can withstand before it screws up. Okay? And some people swear on certain type of material for the capacitors, but I have never had a capacitor go out unless it was damaged from the start. And like I said, I measure every capacitor that I put in to make sure it has the value I want. And I'm going to show you how I test it in a guitar. If you're not sure what size capacitor you have, show you how you can rig up your guitar to where you can test different value capacitors in your own guitar and see what you like the most. The lower the number, the less it takes out, or the less high frequency it takes to the ground. And then the 22, O22, O33, O47, O68, and then a 0.1. Now, 0.1 is really, really muddy and really deep, and so is a 68. 47 is common in humbuckers and stuff like that. You see them quite often. The 47 and the 22 are usually the most common ones you'll see. Like Gibson uses a lot of the O22 capacitors, and Fender uses a lot of higher value like O47s and stuff like that. Higher value caps, the wider the range of frequency that it rolls off to ground. In other words, the highest frequency gets cut off the higher you go with the numbers of values on your capacitor. Now what you can also do, but what we could do is we could take two different type value capacitors and we can put them together on each leg like this, and they would add up to each other. So if you had a O22 microfarad capacitor and had another O22 microcapacitor, you put them two together, you twist them two together like that, with the legs twisted together, then you'd have a 044 microcapacitor. So you would double it. In the case of both of them being 022s, you would double it. It would be 044. Now, if you were to take an 033, for example, and hook it up like that, this is a 022 capacitor, this is a 033 capacitor. Now you would be taking 022 away from 033, and you would have 010, because it would be subtracting. They subtract from each other when they're parallel like that. And together, an 022 and an 033 would be an 055, correct? So 22 and 33 would be 55. So you'd have a 055. Does that explain it? Okay. And now we're going to go to where I show you how to hook it up to your guitar and how you can test them. Alright, if I forgot, these are the typical guitar capacitor values that are most widely used. In order, they're from the brightest to the darkest, with the 0.015 would be the brightest one, so it grounds out less of the high frequency. And then we go 22 getting darker, 47 getting darker, and 0.1 is the darkest. And this is the typical what you see in guitar tone knobs, the capacitors, which ones you see in the capacitor. These are typically the capacitors you see in the tone knobs in guitars. Okay, you can play with any one you want. I use 47 quite often, and 015 I've used it, 015 I've used it too, and 22 is about the middle range of for if you want your guitar to be brighter. And that's about it. Okay guys, I showed y'all how to wire it up to test your capacitors with your multimeter to see what value they have and everything. And now we're going to get to where I'll show you a little switch here. That's a 5-way switch that I've wired up with multiple capacitors. That way I can hook it up real quick and just switch to different capacitors to find out which guitar sounds the best with which capacitor, instead of using the alligator clips. I made it this way, and if you want to make it this way, is what you want to do is you want to purchase a switch like this. And as you can see, I'm going to show you the different tones of these capacitors in the tone switch, and these are the capacitors that I have in there now. And this is a 5-way switch, as you can tell, really a 6-way. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's a place for the 6th one, but I only have 5 capacitors wired to it. I'll put a link at the bottom where I got this switch, and I'm going to show you real quick, if you do get one, how you wire it up, just in case you get the same one. It has 2 center terminals, which you're going to put your ground wire coming from your guitar and your wire coming from your tone pod in the center. This example is how it's normally wired up inside the guitar. My capacitor's in the center terminal, center prong, and to ground, and my guitar wires coming from my volume to my selector switch is over here on the left. That's for HSH, humbucker, single coil humbucker. That's how I got it wired up. What you want to do is take your capacitor off wherever it's at, wire up a long wire to the ground up here, and one to your center or wherever your other wire went from the capacitor. And you want to wire one up there and solder one up there. This is outside the guitar right now. There's one inside the guitar, of course. Oh, and one important thing, in my opinion, is use audio tapered for tone. I only use audio tapered for tone because you can gradually turn the tone knob and it reacts the whole time you're turning it real slow. And then at the end, of course, you have the full tone blocking, which is cutting out the high frequency of your guitar. If you take a linear tapered one, when you turn it, it won't do anything till the very end of the turn of the knob. Some people like that because they don't play with the tone knob much. They just go straight to completely shut down, and then your linear will be fine. But if you want to play a little bit, which is pretty good when you get to playing with your tone knob more often, is to maybe do it halfway, turn it halfway, or 3/4 of the way, and you'll get different tones out of it. That's why I use audio tapered instead of anything else in the tone knob only. Okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, let's go ahead and test this. I already got it wired up, as you can see, and I don't know if you can see down in here, but in the center of this switch there's two terminals that my wires are on. Put your multimeter on ohms, and so it beeps. Put one prong on your, don't touch anything else, on one wire only inside your center two prongs, only on one, and then go around and touch the outer ones until it beeps. And make sure it beeps like this first. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around until we get contact. It's this one right here. Right here. And what would you do? You put a little mark on it. Then you go to the other wire in the center, and you do the same thing on this side. It should be directly across from it, depending on your switch. But this switch, it'll be these two. This one and this one. They're directly across from each other. That means that those two are this number one on the switch. And as you turn the switch, they'll change, of course. Let's find those guys again. And this one. And as you can see, I already have a capacitor soldered to it. Now solder your lowest capacitor to the first switch of the knob, and you do that all the way around. So I have my lowest capacitor wired to number one, my next to the lowest, and so forth and so forth. Switch it over, test it, solder it on. Pretty simple thing. Just make sure that none of your connections and your capacitors are touching each other. If you can see closely, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but nothing's touching anywhere with each other, so they don't ground out on each other. Okay? And then you're ready to test it out. Now let me reset my camera so I can let you hear. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the difference, but I'm not sure because of the, if the microphone or if you hear it as clearly as I do. But we're going to give it a try, and then because I personally don't know yet what capacitor I want with this guitar, because every pickup's a little different, and you'll have, it's everybody's choice what tone they want to get out of it. So I try to get the smoothest and the best tone to my ear out of my capacitor tone. So that's the way I do this before I solder my capacitor in to complete this guitar wiring. Okay, so without further ado, let's set this up so you can hear it. Started. I believe this will work. Hope you can see the different values. Switches on the lowest one, 0.010 microfarad on the tone knob. Okay, let's start. Now we're going to start with the tone fully engaged so you can hear it. This is open. Volume up. Tone down. As you can tell, that makes a little bit of a difference. Now what we're going to do, we're going to leave the tone to where it's completely cutting out the high frequency, and we're going to switch up to each one to tell how much deeper it really gets. So that's 010, 010, 022. Switch back. Let's go to 033, much deeper. The difference between 03 and 001. Quite a bit. Now let's go to 47, 047. Much deeper. 01, 07, and now we're going to go to straight 0.1, which is, in my opinion, way too deep. It almost turns it down. I don't like that one. So let's play around a little bit on the bridge and see which one we like the best. Oh, I really like that 033 so far. That one's almost too muddy, the 047. The 0.1. Okay, I'm liking that 033 to be honest with you. Now let's go up to, say, the middle selector. That's 0.01, the lowest, which doesn't take out much at all. That's with the tone completely off and back all the way on. Now let's go to 22, 022. That don't sound bad. 033. the 33 I'm really liking now. All right, now let's put a little bit of distort, a little bit of crunch in it, just a little bit. Let's see what we call it. Let's go to the 0.001. Let's go to the 0.01 first. Let's go to 0.022. Go to 033. I really like that 033. At 047, have to turn the volume up on the 047 because it just deadens it quite a bit. Tone all the way. Let's try it with the tone. I really like that 033. Let's try 047 without it. All the way. Let's go back to the 33 because I'm really in love with this. I'm going to tell you right now the 033 is going to be put in this guitar because I like it the most. Let's start out without it. Now let's fade it all the way in. Alright, that sounds like the one for me, but we can go down to the 010 and try it like that too. Let's roll it all the way in. That's really subtle, that 0.010. Now if you have pickups that are not real powerful, these are high outputs pickups. If you have pickups that don't put out that much, that 0.010 might just be the one for you, like old Strat or something, you know. Try that. Hole 33. Sorry, I'm not the greatest guitar player. I'm just I work on guitars. I really don't play that often, so you can probably tell. Let's try a little bit more distortion. Alright guys, that's about it for that on my part. It really lets you experiment with the different capacitors, and if you make a switch like this, I really think that you'll enjoy it if you make you a switch like that. Like I said, I do a lot of builds on guitars and repairs and stuff, so it's easier for me just to have a switch like that instead of constantly switching them out with alligator clips and stuff too. Plus you get a lot of hum sometimes when they're not soldered correctly, you know, and have a good contact with just alligator clips. But you can go either way. That's the way you want to, if you want to test your tone knobs, your tone capacitors to get different tones. That's practically what you can do, okay? I know this has been a long video and I've been talking. I'm not the best at this, so bear with me. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button, because you don't want to miss out on nothing that I'm giving away, especially in custom guitars that I give away from time to time. I'll make a video of it and what all's included in the guitar, what it's made out of, and what kind of pickups and all that good stuff. Maybe even how it's the process of building it and painting it or whatever I decide to do. And then I'm going to turn around and give away in that same video. And I'm going to tell you how you can win it. It's pretty easy. You don't have to purchase anything. And all you have to do is be a subscriber and hit that notification button, hit the all. And hit the like button if you like this, man. Because, you know, the more people that like this stuff, the more videos I can make, you know. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my time. But I enjoy this. So, y'all, I hope y'all enjoy your guitars too. And keep rocking, man. We'll see you next time. Thanks for visiting Paul's Guitar Workshop. We'll see y'all. Bye.